Do you also hate that you have to provide images in all kinds of resolutions for your Android and iOS project and all the other platforms that you're supporting? You no longer need to do that with this feature, maybe the biggest feature of .NET MAUI, the single project approach that is easily to be overlooked. So let's see what that's all about. So if you're coming from a Xamarin Forms background, then you know that you would typically have like 3-4 projects in your solution, which one is the shared project, which has all your shared code. And then you have kind of like bootstrapper projects for Android, iOS, Windows, maybe Mac or Tizen or whatever platforms you're supporting. And you need to copy like all the images, all the resources for each of those platforms, right? Which is not something that you probably enjoy doing. I don't enjoy it, at least. So now with .NET MAUI, you have the single project approach, and we can manage that all from one project. Now, before we go look at that, I want to say that you can still have all the different projects if that's what you want. In fact, I think if you're using the upgrade assistant to upgrade from Xamarin Forms to .NET MAUI, it will only upgrade the projects files in place, basically. So you will get all the new stuff from .NET MAUI, which is amazing, but it will still be different projects. So you can definitely do that if that's what you want, but you can also do it in the single project way. Everyone can do as they please, but if you do a file new .NET MAUI application, you will get the single project approach. And here is why you want to have that. So let's switch over to my screen here, and we can see Visual Studio 2022, the latest preview at the time of recording, at least. Previews are coming out all the time. And the first thing, actually, this is not really something that has to do with the single project, but I still wanted to point it out, is that for .NET MAUI, we also have the generic host builder now. So that is really cool. This really matches other project types in the .NET ecosystem. So for instance, ASP.NET, that has this same way of building kind of like the shell of your application. So we can initialize all kinds of things here. You have the use MAUI app. I think that is kind of like required. You can configure your fonts here. You can say, I want to configure my MAUI handler. So if you want to do something with custom handlers, you totally can. And I also see third-party libraries that hook into this as well. So you have some kind of fluent way of building up your entire application here. And of course, you can also register your dependencies here because dependency injection is now built in. So if you're coming from another side of the .NET ecosystem, then you should feel right at home because let's face it, getting used to cross-platform development is hard enough as it is. So anything we can do to lower that threshold, we are going to do that, and this is one of the examples of that. So there's that, but now let's have a look at this single project approach. So basically everything outside of the platforms folder right here is shared. So that's going to be shared code. That is where you want to have most of your code. You can see the XAML pages right here, main page in your app, bootstrapper thing where you can have your resource dictionaries in there. You can create all the pages there. You can create folders that will still be in your shared code space, but you can all do that here in this project. Now, we still have the ability to actually do platform specific stuff, and we need to, because at the end of the day, Apple and Google are not going to say, hey, send me that exe for Windows, we'll do all the hard work and translate that into something that iOS will understand or Android understand. They're not going to do that, right? So we still have to build an IPA file, and for Android an AAB file. For Windows it is actually an exe file, but for all the other platforms we need kind of like the platform specific binaries for that, right? So we still need some way for our metadata to be in there, and all of that is done in the platforms folder. So here you can see all the supported platforms: Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, Windows, and under that you can see the Android manifest. So that's the metadata for your Android app. The iOS has the info plist. For Windows we have the AppX manifest, right? So we have all these things here. And also if you add code in one of these folders, it will only be, you're suddenly transported to Android world, right? So you can suddenly use all the Android namespaces, or for iOS you can suddenly use UIKit and Foundation and that kind of stuff. So you can still write cross-platform code, platform-specific code actually, whenever you go into these folders. And then you can do the abstraction outside of the platforms folder, and you can kind of like tie it that way together. So we don't lose any of the power that Xamarin Forms gives us, but we do have the ability to make our life easier. And this is How? Because the true power of the single project lies in the resources mostly. So if we go over to the resources folder, you will notice that's outside of the platforms folder. So that is in our shared code, right? And we have images, we have fonts, and you notice that we now have SVG. So SVGs, I think, is now the preferred, well, I don't think, I know is the preferred way to add images because SVGs can be scaled to infinity, right? And we need that because at compile time, we will now scale the images from our SVG to all the necessary resolutions for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac Catalyst. We will all figure out that for you. We will resize the images to all the variations that are needed, put it in the right places so you can use them in your app. And you don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to create all the sizes yourself. You don't have to copy it into the right places. We will do that for you. And that is what makes this so much more productive. Now with fonts, the same thing. We already had in Xamarin Forms a way to register the font once, but now we've taken that, made it a little bit easier. You can see it here in our generic host builder, configure fonts. We can just do it that way. You will just have to put your font file here once, and we will figure out where to put it for you. You can also do that for like your raw assets, so any other files that you might use, maybe some kind of database file that you want to initialize on the user's device. You can just put it here and use it from your application directly. So that is really cool. Now, to even take that even a step further, let's look into our CS_proj file right here. And when we scroll down, you will have here this item group with a MAUI icon, which is the app icon. So also for the app icon, you can make designs if that's what you want yourself. Also with all the resources, if you still want to go the platform specific approach, you can totally do that. But this will make your life so much easier. So for the app icon as well, you can supply an SVG file again, which will be used as the app icon. Now for Android, we also have the foreground file. So the foreground and the background are kind of like loose things that animate independently of each other. I don't think you should check the documentation. I don't think it works for iOS. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And we have a color that will be used as the background color. So these three things together will make up for an app icon. We will just generate the app icon for you for all the supported platforms. They will be on your home screens. It will be on your desktop for Windows, and you will just have this easy way to create an app icon. If you want to hire a designer and get something fancy, you can totally do that, but this is to get you started. The same thing for the splash screen. So I have a video on the splash screen already. I will link you to that near the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. But you can just say, hey, I have this SVG. We will center that in the center of your splash screen. You will have this background color, and you will have a simple splash screen. You don't have to create an activity on Android. You don't have to create a storyboard on iOS. It will just be there. And this also is new. Like if you've seen other CS_proj files, you might have seen, especially the Xamarin Forms one, lists and lists of files that needed to be included. We introduced these wildcards now, so you can just say resources, images, star, and it will add all the images inside of that folder as a MAUI image in this case, because we need to this MAUI image type so that it resizes, which I just mentioned. And we have for the fonts a specific one as well. But it will mostly figure that out depending on the folder that you put this in. So you don't need to worry about that. Now, you can definitely influence this behavior if you want to compile it a little bit differently. Make sure to check out the documentation. I'll put the link down in the video description, and let me know if you want to see a video on that as well. I will follow up on this one, of course. That is in a nutshell how to use the single project applications for .NET MAUI and how you can leverage this to be more productive with cross-platform development. If you've been looking into .NET MAUI, then you might have, without noticing, already used all this power. But like I said in the beginning, it's easy to overlook this. While it really enhances your productivity, it is so easy to work with all this stuff. And if you're coming from Xamarin Forms, I think you will be pretty happy with this, especially with not having to create all these resources yourself in all the different sizes, because that was always a big hassle for me anyway. So if you've liked this video, please click the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, check out the subscribe button down below, and maybe if you like what you see, subscribe to my channel, ding that notification bell so that the content will come to you automatically. Now, maybe you still need to build your .NET MAUI application, then check out this playlist right here, which will have all kinds of videos on .NET MAUI development. Check out this video for the splash screen that I mentioned earlier and how to work with that, or click this little thing to see if you're subscribed, and if not, subscribe to it. See you next time.